the actual class printed off in my book, because these are new classes. Like I told you guys on the 25th, that these are the first time that we've been teaching these classes. We've had a different format before, so it's all new. And so that's why it's a little kind of a rough and tumble start, even though I've reviewed it and looked at it. But I want to make sure that we cover everything on here. But as time goes on, it'll become so much easier because we'll be used to doing these classes. So let me pull this up here for you. And we're going to be starting on your notebooks. Does it have you start on this first page? It says we'll focus on today. What we'll focus on today page. I'll show you in a sec. I got to get this share screen up. Okay, so this page in your notebooks for today's class. So today is contract to close and Ignite Elements 9. And today we are going to, I'm going to introduce myself so you get to know me, because some of you don't. So my name is Kristen Campbell, and I am a managing broker with Keller Williams at Federal Way Puget Sound, which doesn't mean I'm managing the office. It just means my license is for managing broker. And because of that, I can teach, and I mentor a lot of our agents. And so I do have that designation, but I am not managing the office. I don't feel like it. I wouldn't want to manage an office right now. It's a little bit much. But today we're going to be focusing on a variety of things. We're going to have a break at 10. Will someone remind me of that? Because I will get going and completely forget, because I don't set timers for anything. You could ask my husband. He hates that. My food burns all the time. It's a thing. So please remind me at 10. We're going to take our 10-minute break at 10. I have been with Keller Williams for a little over 2 years. I was with Windermere previous to that. And I live up by Lake Tapps in the Lakeland area. And it's fun for me to teach these classes. It's exciting. It helps me grow and continue to grow, but it's going to help you guys a lot. At first, it's going to seem like a lot. Some of you may or may not actually handle the contracts. I don't know, because some of you may be on teams and you have a transaction coordinator. So there's some things that you won't be touching, but you will need to know the process for. So I know, is Morgan, are you on a team, right? No, who was on a team the other day that I can't remember now? But you were here. What was that?
Chris?
Yeah, Chris was on a team, and someone else was on a team.
I was on a team. Me.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, Chris is on a team. I know he's getting connected to audio. Kayla, I'm going to have you guys introduce. I know Chris is on a team. I know Morgan was here on the last class. I know Ed, and all of a sudden I can't remember your name because I don't see it on the screen. I forget your name. I'm sorry about that, because it's not showing me your name. She'll show you. So I know Morgan's here. I know that, is Heather here today? Amanda's here. Joshua's here.
I'm here. There's usually 2 Heathers.
Yes. Hi, Heather.
I wasn't here on Monday.
Yeah, I didn't see you on Monday. It's funny because I saw you post one day. I saw your name was spelled backwards. I thought that's an interesting way to spell Heather on Facebook.
Yeah.
But are you on a team?
Long story why it was like that, but
Okay. Well, are you on a team? Because I know you know a couple people like Jen Tobin and things like that.
No, I'm not on a team.
Okay. Jen and I room together sometimes when we go to big conferences, because
nice.
Yeah, it's fun. Let's see, who else do we have? We have Amanda. And Amanda, remind me, are you on a team?
Yeah, I'm part of the Integrity Home Selling team.
Okay, so you're on Lauren's team. No.
Rich and Diane Lucas.
Diane Lucas. Okay, everyone's got different team names. And as I grow my team, I'm like, do I want a team name? Because now it's totally confusing who runs the teams. So I might do something like Kristen Campbell Group. I mean, something that, people would know who I am, because it gets confusing. Joshua, you're an independent agent, right? Yes. And Heather, you're independent. Morgan's independent. Let's see. And I'm going to ask a couple of you now. Ed, you and your wife are going to be co-agents, right?
Yeah, we are. We're co-agents. We're part of a team called Lasting Homes with someone in the office named Chris Johnson.
Oh, okay, great. And then I don't know this. I need if you can put the video on, that would really help us. We're asking everyone to have videos on. I know that there's 2 other people that I am not seeing your names for some reason when I scroll over you. So it's hard for me to see who I'm calling on. Bye-bye. So I have 2 more people. Is it Kylan?
Yeah, Kyla.
Are you an independent agent?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. And are you out of the Puget Sound office as well?
Yep.
Cool. And so I'm going to ask one more person, because I'm looking at your face and I can't remember your name because it doesn't show it for some reason. And it could be because, did I miss anyone? I know there's, Angela, that's who it is. Your name finally showed up. Are you an independent agent?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And Susan, you're independent, correct?
Yes.
And you're living up in Everett, correct?
Yes.
But you are in our office in Puget Sound.
Right.
Okay, cool. And how long have you been an agent, Susan?
End of October.
Okay,
So 3 months.
3 months. Anyone here been an agent over 4 months? I don't think so. I think you're all brand new. That's awesome. I told you guys the other day, I'm jealous a little because you guys have got huge circles of people you haven't touched yet. It's amazing. And you don't even know that you may know all these people, but you will. So that's awesome. So I'm going to start our class here. We are going to go over all the steps from contract to close. And we're going to focus on a little bit about a variety of different things. It says here we're going to talk about negotiate contracts, transaction management, vendor management, and compliance risk management. And really, honestly, when we get into this, when you're in a contract or you finally win, your offer wins, right? Does not mean that it's going to actually sail right on into closing. I know, surprising, right? In fact, I saw a house I'm going to show today, this afternoon, and the agent said we've had 4 buyers get into contract and all fail financing after the inspection. So that can tell you that there are some things that we need to mitigate as we go along. And actually, there's going to be things that you're going to really need to focus on before you even get rolling with your buyers. So we're looking at this timeline, and there are seller timelines and there's buyer timelines when we're talking contracts, because some of you will have listings as well. So we're going to be looking at, on this first page, understanding.
Oh, like,
Are you sure?
you're talking about like,
Hello?
It wasn't codeine?
We might have to put, some people might need to be on mute again, just in case. Okay, perfect. So how many of you, and I think I asked this on the 25th, I know Chris has gotten a couple buyers into buyer agreements right now, so he's going to be getting ready to show. Anyone else have any current buyers that are actively showing or getting ready to show? You do, Ed? Okay. And how many do any of you have any upcoming listings, you lucky dogs? No listings yet? Okay. So one of the things that we're going to do is you're going to get out a piece of paper too, and we're going to draw a timeline, and we're going to build a timeline. So everyone needs to maybe have a piece of paper near them so that you can do this, because I'm not going to give you the information. I'm going to let you take a stab at it first, and then we're going to cover it. Okay. So everyone needs to get out a piece of paper, and at the very front of the timeline, you're going to put execute a contract. And the very end of the timeline, make sure your timeline's long enough for you. Like I'd turn the sheet maybe horizontal, and then put closing at the very end. Okay. And we're gonna have you take a moment and fill in what you think are some milestones or things that have to happen between the time the mutual contract happens and the closing happens. And I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys about 2 minutes. Should be pretty quick, as you might not know everything involved. And then 2 minutes. Okay. I think most of you are done, correct? You can nod your heads. I can look at a few of you. If you don't have your video camera on, it would be great if you can, because then I want to make sure that it's all right if you don't look beautiful. I get it. I mean, you know, this is the life. I mean, I've seen the men are growing beards. The women are basically dressed from the top up, just like some of the men. We're wearing our leggings, and honestly, I'm wearing my beach shoes right now. So that's our life nowadays. When we leave the house, I know we pretty much get dressed to take care of business, right? Okay. So can anyone want to share with me right after you execute and get a mutual contract in place? What, I mean, honestly, I want to get a little more granular, but we'll go with some big things first. What is the first major milestone after you get a mutual contract?
Earnest money.
Earnest money. Great. So everyone, that's a good one. What is another major milestone on this as we move forward?
Inspection.
Inspection. Yep. And we're going to keep going until we get all the milestones between the contract to close.
Appraisal.
Inspection, appraisal, yes. Anything else?
Financing approved.
Is that final financing approved?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
Final walkthrough.
Okay. Anything else?
Maybe negotiation.
Negotiation of what?
Like the inspection if there's something that they want repaired.
Okay, and that will be up in front or with inspection, inspection negotiation. Yep. Anything else, anybody?
Title.
Title? You mean title at the very beginning? Clearing the title?
Yeah, I mean, getting the title docs finalized. I was thinking closer to closing, but
Okay. Okey-doke.
Having county the documents.
You kind of glitched. You said something about county documents, getting the documents to county, you mean?
Having the county record the documents.
Oh, you're kind of glitching. Sorry about that. Was that Chris?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you're kind of glitching. So you were saying getting the documents from escrow to the county, right? I think so. I think that's what he was saying. Did you guys catch that? Okay. Anything else? This is going to be fun. Okay. I love this kind of stuff because this is where you're going to really be able to shine and show your value, is understanding every part of this timeline. And so we're going to hit some I'm going to go over the big pieces, big chunks, and you're going to put them down on your timeline in order. And you might already have them on there. That's because a lot of you have said some things. But then we're going to go back and we're going to go granularly into it and fill in things that help with mitigating risk and compliance for us as well. Okay. And helping your client see your value. So when we get into a mutual contract and they send that contract back to you and say, we're mutual, what do you guys think is the first thing that you do? And this is a very granular thing that we need to do.
Let your clients know.
Let your awesome. Yeah, we do want to say congratulations. You have finally won out of the 35 people on the 15th house. That's awesome. So that's a big hooray. In fact, you might want to run over some sparkling cider or a little mini champagne and orange juice for them, just because that's a big deal in this market right now, just winning the contract, right? So that is true. We want to let them know. The next thing, this is still, like I said, we're going to hit the big ones in a second, but granularly right off the bat, when you get that mutual contract, you call your clients and say they won. Number two, you're taking that mutual contract and you are now sending it to whom?
Escrow.
Escrow and
I mean, if there's financing lender, the buyer.
Yep. So you are going to send it to escrow if you've already know who their escrow is. Now, sometimes they'll have a name and a company, but you won't have their office details. You won't have the escrow team email unless the agent has already put that in the email for you or have a TC that organizes this stuff for you. So sometimes you have to wait a day for that, but you can always immediately send back an email saying, thank you, I'm so excited to be working for you. Can you please send me the escrow contact email and information? And are you planning to send the offer over or should I? So I always say that because sometimes other agents either get busy or they forget what they're doing. I mean, it could be two reasons. They're really busy or they're still fairly new, so they forget, right? So I offer to do that. So when you get that mutual contract, ask about escrow because you're going to need that for your information, right? And the contacting of escrow for different things. But then you're also going to send that mutual contract to your buyer's lender so that they can get that file open and started. The other thing you're going to do is you're going to go into your opportunities into command, and you're going to go into that opportunity and you're going to update it that you're now in contract. And then you're going to send your mutual contract, which is usually all in one PDF. You're going to go into DocuSign and you're going to split it so that you can save those pieces. Remember, because we have. Anyone have a question? I heard the mute button come off.
I was going to say, so we just literally got our first mutual this week. And so we just literally went through all these steps. We didn't know you could chop it up in DocuSign. We use like other hacks to chop up the document and upload it. But actually, yeah, it was very similar to what you just described. We had 31 offers and we got it. But I was going to ask the question was, is it normal, sort of customary to have the listing agent sort of kick things off with their TC? So like what you just said, we would normally, as on the buyer side, say, hey, thank you, and sort of not kick things off. So what we did is we were a little bit, we wanted to get things rolling. So we saw that who the escrow was, and we just sort of kicked off that mail on our side to sort of get things going with all the information that we had to get going in. Right. And then the next day they sent the same mail. So, so
right.
I just wanted.
It is not, I mean, it can be both ways. I'm very fast in the sense that I just want to get things done in a row. I like to get my checklist done. Very rarely will I ever have an email that I haven't seen or responded to during a day. I mean, I just move things and keep them going. So the reality is that sometimes you're going to send information over to escrow. I like to do that right away if I know the contact information, even if they're going to duplicate me the next day. Okay, that's okay. Escrow's not going to get hurt about it. They're just going to get a second email. They'll deal with it. The TC, if they have a larger team and they have a TC and they also have an administrator, some of them kick out this beautiful little document that shows all of your timelines for you on there because they're really, really well prepared. But that doesn't happen all the time. Most of the time, that's not going to happen. But that's okay. So when you get that contract, if you can send it to escrow and you already know your information, go ahead and send it. But they're just probably going to duplicate that. Right. And if you don't have it, just send the email asking for the information, can do it. And I will tell you the easiest way in the universe to split a document is DocuSign. That's the only reason I use DocuSign. That's it. That's the only reason that thing. Everything I do is through Transaction Desk and Wizard on the MLS. And I do have a TC now, so she does all the splitting for me. But I used to, for the last 6 years, do all my own splitting, and DocuSign is amazing at that. And keep in mind, when we split it, the purchase and sale has to be with the legal. So when you split it, that gives you an area to type in the title. So I do purchase and sale and legal. And then I just highlight the purchase contract and the legal contract, and that puts them all on one PDF, right? So you go through and you title it and you click the pages that belong with each one. Then you hit split. Then you log out of DocuSign so that when you go back into transaction, into our command and go to that transaction, you can upload the individual docs from DocuSign and just pick it off the box from a radial.
Oh, that's awesome. That's much easier than what we just did. Okay, perfect. We'll do that next time.
Super duper easy. You can literally do that in less than 5 minutes. I mean, fast. But, first you got to learn it. but then it will be, I mean, if you are a visual learner like I am, I go in and do it. I only need to do it once or twice and I've got it down, right? So it is super easy and all of you can do that. Okay, so after you've got that, you've sent it to the lender, maybe you've sent it to escrow, you filed it into your opportunities, right? After you split it. The immediate, you don't even have to do that right away. I mean, honestly, I do the splitting and stuff later that evening because the next step is I'm calling and getting a timeline for my clients and the inspector, should they be able to have an inspection right now. So that gets on the books. That's granular, you guys. So that's the next step. Then you're notifying the agent and saying, I hope this time works well for your clients. This is the only time our inspector can do this in our timeline. And they will confirm that with their clients, right? So those are two things you do because everything is, you've got to coordinate this. Then,
Can I ask a question about that? Who is at the inspection?
you as an agent, there always has to be an agent at the inspection. The clients do not have to attend, but it is best that one or both of the buyers are there for the inspection. The inspection runs 2 to 3 hours, depending on your inspector and where it's at. And you are not to be asking questions of the inspector that can bring up legal things, but your client can. Depending on the inspector you use, some will do their report there, some will do their report later. I have a guy I love that always makes time. He has a good team. I have a couple different ones I use depending on who's available, but they can do it on a short time frame. They get there, they get it done within 2.5 hours. At the end, they will cover everything that they saw with the client, and I can stand there and I can ask qualifying questions as the client's asking questions. And usually we know if there's anything we have to ask for before I even leave that day. And then I wait for them to get their report the next day. I call back and I say, so other than the things that we discussed yesterday that would be major hazards or major concerns, is there anything that we want to change or update on this? Do you have any questions? And if they say no, then I say, okay, great. I've already prepped the inspection response, which I do the night before. After the inspection, I would just go home and type in what I think is best for the wording of it based on what we had a conversation on and what they agreed to the night before. And then if they say, no, everything yesterday that we discussed is what we want to do. And I said, great, I'm going to hit send right now. And if you could just please initial that, I'll get that off to the agent. So, I mean, it's boom. So they get it. They sign it. I send it over to the agent. I text the agent saying, hey, I just sent you the inspection response. And that way there's a lot of communication because agents, I know it sounds crazy, don't always look at their email. They also don't look at their phone apparently, and they don't pick up the phone. So just so you know, the best agents communicate. Text, phone call, pick up the phone, answer your emails, look at your emails, please. Nothing worse than being on timelines and someone doesn't answer a call to you that's a real basic question for 24 hours. It's ridiculous. So please communicate.
Quick inspection, sorry, just a quick follow-up to that, sorry, is basically, so you're saying the agent should not ask questions of the inspector while they're doing it, but afterwards we can ask questions about the results and clarify. Is that correct?
Well, usually when the buyer is standing there, they will have questions and yeah. I just usually stand there with my clients and say, is there anything that we need to know that's a major hazard or a major concern right now on this inspection report? And they'll cover things and they'll bring something up. And I go, is that something that's a maintenance item? Or is that something that's really going to be quite costly? And is the roof going to fall in? Is the foundation crumbling? Is the electrical box going to go up in flames right now? If it's a double tap, that's not going to go up in flames. It could, but you can get that fixed later. A double tap's easy. That's a quick and easy. Change out the doohickey because you want 2 wires and 2 holes instead of 1. That's what a double tap is. The old days, they just wrap 2 wires around one of those screws. I'm like, can you tell I'm an electrician? So double taps can be fixed. I mean, seriously, and it's not that expensive. But if it is something that's going to go up in flames, that's a major hazard. That's something we need to discuss. We might need to negotiate. We might need a replacement of it. We might need a credit to buyers so they can replace it themselves. There's a variety of things. So yes, at the very end, we're not asking questions as they go along, and usually your buyers are there. And I just say, well, we just want to know today, is there anything that's going to go up in flames or cause a serious problem here? That's a hazard. And they can talk to the client, and the client will be asking questions and listening, and I'll hear it. And And I will say, okay, so does that mean it's just a maintenance issue? Is that something that can be taken care of in the next 2-3 years? You know, that kind of thing. They go, oh yeah, it's not a big deal. And we'll get you the report tomorrow. And I go, great. And then we'll leave. I mean, this could be a conversation outside the house as well, after we've walked out with the inspector. And then I tell the clients we're going to just discuss what we think are necessary, if anything, on this. We know this is a strong market. You beat out, 15 other people or 20 other people to get this house. And I'm going to let you know right now, we're only looking at hazards. And I know that it would be great if we could have them do a variety of things. And we can always ask, but the answer could be no. So let's put, and if we put on major things, we put on some small things, they could potentially say, yeah, we'll fix the small things, but not the major things. So we have to decide what our strategy is on what we're going to ask so that we're making the best steps. So sometimes I'll suggest big things and the seller will do the big thing, but not the small things, right? So, and I mean, my small things be something like vapor barrier, new vapor barrier down below, or maybe they don't want to replace a window. And that's still a fairly small thing, right? But maybe there is a hole in the roof or a leak. And I ask for that. What if they don't fix the leak, but they fix the window? I mean, we have to really be looking at what's very, very important. And if the appliances are older, but they're not showing leaks or stainage, maybe we just ask for a servicing and a home warranty from American Home Shield, the Plus plan, the Plus warranty. It's the second one down from the very top. And if it has air conditioning, it's going to be the one with air conditioning, second from the top. So that's going to be $470 to $540 for a home warranty that you're asking the seller to pay for. And I'm very specific when I write it into my inspection report. But those are things you need to discuss with your client. And I do that right after the inspection. And then I say, when you get your report tomorrow morning, I'm going to get it as well. And we're going to cover only the summary items. And we're going to rediscuss what we discussed this tonight. And then we're going to see, then I'm going to send the inspection response back to the agent so we can get this rolling, because usually your appraisal is not ordered until that is signed around. And we don't want to wait because appraisals can take a while. So some of the lenders will actually order it with mutual contract, but it gives you, they will have enough leeway to be able to cancel it. It just depends. You're going to have to ask your lender. So that's kind of how that inspection part works. So again, mutual contract, escrow to lender, and then you're setting up the inspection, confirming that with the agent. You're going to break apart your contract in DocuSign and load it into Command. And then you're going to also then go to the inspection, discuss the inspection response. Then after the report, you're going to send your inspection response to whom? Anyone know who you're going to send that inspection response to?
Lender?
No, but
Client?
the inspection response will be signed by your clients, because remember, we're filling it out. They're going to sign it. So when you get that back, lenders never, ever should see an inspection response. Okay, no. Because if they see things like you're getting a credit because of a repair in a roof, red flag. No. So only send your inspection response to the other agent and escrow for their file, because escrow, remember, are only there to follow the instructions of the contract. Okay. They're there to do that. If you are asking for a credit of $1,500 in lieu of replacing 2 front windows, then you're also going to actually be sending to your clients to sign not the 35, just the 35R with that wording on there, but you're going to do a form 34 that states seller to provide buyer a $1,500 closing credit. Okay. When that's signed by your client, you send it over to the agent and they agree to it and sign it. Then you're going to split that document. You're going to send the inspection response only to escrow, and the other agent will have it only to escrow, just the 35R. And you're going to take the form 34 and send that to your lender, because the lender needs to know your client is getting a credit. But all that, those 2 forms will already be at escrow and the other agent has it. Does that make sense, everyone?
What were the forms that you sent to the lender in escrow?
Okay, so if it's just a basic, simple 35R, there's no money being credited, right? That is going to go to escrow and it's going to go to the other agent only. That's the only place that 35Rs go to. Okay, those 2 places, never to a lender. Never, never, never. If there is a credit to be given on a 35R that you're requesting, I do this to save myself time. I add the form 34, which is a blank addendum. Remember, usually we don't use that because it needs to have legal jargon on there, but a simple sentence that states seller to provide buyer a $1,500 closing cost credit. That's a simple sentence. It's pretty basic. Seller providing this much money to buyer closing cost credit. Now, when you get that signed, sent over to the other agent and they sign it around and you get it back, you're going to split those documents up. Again, 35R only to escrow, form 34 because you're getting a credit now to the lender. Okay. That doesn't happen very often. I'm just letting you know this is an extra special detail I'm giving you. You probably will not have talked about this for a long time with anyone. Okay. It's just an extra special tidbit. Okay. What was I going to say about also another tidbit about that this is about, okay, so what I'm talking about right now is about mitigating risk too, because you also don't want the buyer financing to fail and you don't want to have a problem. Maybe you had already asked for the seller to pay all their closing costs and they said yes, let's say. I mean, probably not in this market, but let's say they did. You need to call the lender and say, is there any ability for my client to use any more buyer credits at this point? Can they get a $1,500 additional credit? Is there room for that? Because there is a point in which you cannot ask for any more, and it won't make sense to ask for a credit for a repair if that can't happen. And then you're going to have to make sure that the repair gets done because there's no more money to be given to the buyer. So these are things you need to discuss with your lender, maybe if that comes up as an idea that you have. And I usually discuss it with the lender even before I suggest it to my buyers. Does that make sense? So I'm looking at the windows and thinking about what we have to ask. And I'm thinking, what's the best way to get this inspection response signed off? What do I feel from the agent that the sellers would be potentially willing to do, right? Are they willing to give an additional $1,500? And can we get the $1,500 and use it, right? So I call the lender and talk to them about that potential. And if there's no room for more credits, then we have to ask for the window replacement and not the credit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's what I didn't know. So the lender directly gives credit to the buyer, not the seller. So we're basically saying to the lender, hey, you're about to loan me this money. Oh, by the way, I need a credit for this window.
No, what happens is they have to write it in the numbers. The seller would be giving the credit.
Okay, got it.
The lender has to run the numbers, right? And if the lender, let's say they're using down payment assistance and then they get also money from the seller, there's a maximum that they can get from those. Right. And so really asking for another $1,500 isn't going to benefit them because they're not going to be allowed to add that onto their buy side. It will be maxed out. So really they have to have the window fixed. They can't get a credit for it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So those are some things. So we're getting real granular on this, but that's kind of how the part of the inspection goes. Okay. So as soon as that's signed around and you've sent the 35R over to escrow, and if an addendum was used, you send that to the lender, but 95% of the time, it's just going to be the 35R. You send it off to the escrow agent and you file it in command, right? Under 35R. The next step at that point, usually at that point, if you have your inspection within 3 days or 5 days, your earnest money should have already been deposited within the first 2 to 3 days. Now, if you go with just the basic contract, it is within 2 days of mutual contract. Does everyone understand what that means?
Is that calendar or business days?
It's business days, but I'll go over timeline in a second. But how many of you are using the promissory note in your offers? Oh, you probably haven't used them yet, so I can cover that. But anyone that just like you guys did a promissory note?
No, I don't think so. I'm sorry, promissory note. No.
Okay, so you just did the regular contract, which states that the earnest money will need to be deposited within 2 days of mutual agreement, correct?
Correct. Yeah, the normal. Yeah, and we did that. Yeah.
So when did you sign it? When did you get mutual?
On the 26th.
26th was what day is today?
Tuesday.
You will be just someday. You will not remember it.
Yes. And then we got the earnest money check and delivered to escrow the next day.
Excellent. Okay. So this is something you guys need to be very, very aware. I have never, ever, ever just used the contract for my earnest money. So I was looking at an offer that was given to me on a listing, and I asked my TC, I said, is the earnest money in already? And she said, yeah, it had to be in within 2 days. And I go, why 2 days? It's always 3. And she goes, no, it's because you only use a promissory note. Everyone else that's just sending it in with a random contract has 2 days. I'm like, oh, didn't know that, because I've always used a promissory note for the last 6 years, because the seller's market is moving so fast. I don't want to have to commit my clients to either depositing check right off the bat or too early, because it takes days to get that check back from escrow after it's been deposited. And maybe that's their only money to make offers with. So, I mean, I just use promissory notes. So,
Nice.
so when you have a contract and you're not using the form 31, which is the promissory note, just so you know, that's form 31. If you're just using the contract, you get into contract on Tuesday. The first day of your contract is Wednesday. That means they had until Thursday at 5 p.m. to get their earnest money in. Now, you can direct the clients to drive it to the escrow that is closest to them. So if it's Stewart Title, you can Google Stewart Title that's closest to them and have them get the address. And sometimes they'll ask them for a file number. That's because the other agent hasn't set it up yet or didn't do prelim on it or anything. All they have to do is go in and say, here, this is the address that we're making, that this check is for. And they will give them a copy that they dropped off the receipt. And then after they deposit the check in their system, they should email you an earnest money receipt. If you don't have an earnest money receipt before the timeline ends, you need to email. It's your responsibility to email escrow and say, has the earnest money been deposited? I would like a receipt, please, if you have it. They forget, they'll send it to you, and you need to file that again in command under earnest money receipt. Okay. Your client has a copy that they dropped it off. So they can also do that with a personal check, a cashier check, or a money order. That earnest money can be in those 3 formats. If they really wanted to wire it, they could, but who wants to do that? That's extra money. And if they're local, no big deal.
So is it
Can you say that part, sorry, at the beginning, the client is the one who literally has to take it to the title company?
They don't, not 100%. I'm just starting to have people do that more often because I've become busier and I have buyers I'm showing at all times. And I want them to take some responsibility, because I realize I have really taken care of my clients really well. But I think sometimes almost, it's like with kids, doing almost everything for them, they lose the appreciation for your value.
versus them giving me the check and then I have to take it.
Right.
Okay.
And you can. And if you do that, there is another form that you need to fill out, because you
Okay.
need to say that you accepted the check and you are now signing off that you're getting it in. So there is another form, and I think is it form 26 or 29? I have to double check, because I really try not to touch it anymore. I used to do that all the time. By the way, if you get a check early enough, let's say the day you get into contract, you're still with them, they can write the check to the title company for the amount on that, hand it to you. Yes, you still have to fill out your form, but you can take it over to our office. On the front desk at Puget Sound, there's a file that says earnest money, and there's a sheet. You sign in your name, you sign what title company, you sign off the amount of the check, you put it in an envelope, you put it in there. That is after you make sure that the title company has a courier that will pick up that check in a timely fashion to get it deposited before your 5 p.m. deadline. Okay. So there is that. You can ask that too.
In lieu of that, though, in terms of like, literally geographically being all over the place, we could take it to the same company, just a different branch.
Yep. So can your clients. That's what I mean.
Okay.
Yep.
Got it.
You have to have the address, maybe the agent's name. Sometimes I don't have the file open yet, but yes, you can do those things. So yes, the earnest money will be done. If you're using a form 31 like I do, I put down 3 days after mutual. Sometimes I've even had to check it and say 5 days after mutual, due to client being out of town, and we'll be able to get it in by this date. So they sign off of it. As long as it's going to be in there on time, we're good. Okay. So, and you do need to make sure you're getting the earnest money receipt. So you've got the earnest money done, you've got the inspection negotiation done, you've got the 35-hour sent off to escrow. If there was a form 34 at all, you'd send that to the lender, and the appraisal has been ordered. Now, at this point, what is the next step? What's the next big milestone?
Sorry, wait. When does the appraisal get ordered? Like, do we do that or does the lender do that?
The lender does it, and usually the lender waits until the inspection response is signed around. You need to let them know.
Okay.
We're all good on the inspection. You can order the appraisal. Some of them go, oh, well, I ordered it when we got mutual, so no big deal, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Some of them order it right off the bat. Some of them after you've done the appraisal. I mean, the
Got it.
inspection, right? So after we've gotten to this point, what's the next big milestone? Anyone know? It's a big one, not granular, just big.
Financing? Loan underwriting?
It's actually a little bit of both, but the next major one we're waiting for as a buyer is the appraisal.
Oh, okay.
Right? So we're waiting for the appraisal. Now, in between now and the appraisal, what is it like after we've done this, we've completed it, everything's been signed off, you've talked to your client and said the appraisal's been ordered. What else might you want to prepare them for at this point in time? This is granular. This is,
If the appraisal doesn't come in at the offer price, what are we going to do about the difference?
we can,
That would be before contract, right? Because they would have to say if they're willing to pay the difference.
yeah, well, you're discussing that a variety of different times. Really up front, if you're doing a 22 AD, which is money towards low appraisal, you'll have a discussion about that. If they're not doing a 22 AD and they got lucky enough to win a house without it right now, then really we'll discuss that there are a few different options if appraisal did come in low, and we will cover that when we get to it. But one of those could be that the seller pulls out of the contract and we start over, but it is unlikely because it looks really bad for them to pull out of a contract at that point because it's been off the market, and then people are going to question it, right? So there will be some negotiation at that point, or just an acceptance of fact, because they'll come back and ask if you can split the difference and do you have money, and the answer is always no. I'm a buyer's agent at that point. It's a no. As a selling agent, I'm asking them, do you have money? Do you want to split it? So you've got two parts you're playing. If you're a buyer's agent and strictly only a buyer's agent, the answer is your client doesn't have money unless they really do, and they really do want to negotiate on it and worried about it. Certainly they can put their money down on that. That's no problem. But my clients typically don't have a lot of extra cash, and the answer is no. So then it's, well, okay, I'll tell my clients are not happy, but they'll accept the low appraisal. Okay, sign it off, because we've provided them with a notice of low appraisal if that comes in. So let's discuss this first with the fact that they've now signed off on the inspection report. The appraisal's been signed. We know the appraisal's coming up. So what our discussion with our clients at this point should be is that, hey, the appraisal's been ordered. I will let you know when it's been picked up, when it's supposed to happen, and when the report is due. At this point, it's going to feel like dead silence, but that's because we've done all the massive, really major parts of the contract up front, up to the inspection. So right now, I just want to make sure that you're filling out your buyer forms from escrow, and that's usually digital. So make sure you fill that out. The next step is you're going to be more in contract with your lender, and you're going to be giving them a lot of updated paperwork, and it's going to feel very, very redundant, and they're going to ask you for numerous things all the way up to close, and it's exhausting, but bear with me. It'll be good in the end when you get your house. So you're going to do a lot of extra paperwork all over and over and over. And because of my personality and my clients, I can say things that may not come off easily for everyone else. I said it's kind of like a financial proctology appointment, so we got to go with it. So my clients are fine with that, but not everyone's clients will be. I mean, I kind of have to throw a little humor in it and a little relaxation, because we're here to mitigate the stress that's involved and the anxiety. Your job as an agent is to help control some of that emotional trauma, right? And so I say it's no big deal. Just go with the flow, and I will update you if something comes up that's necessary that I need to let you know. And every week I will update you, even if everything is going smoothly, just to let you know nothing new, all is good in the world, and we keep going forward. Okay. So that's kind of how I prep them for that gap between inspection done and appraisal. Okay. In that middle of that, I am also contacting escrow generally weekly to see where we're at. Are they, do they have any new conditions that they have to take care of? Is there anything we need to make sure that has happened? Okay. If they're down payment assistance, they need to have taken their class. If they have not already taken it to get their certificate, you need to make sure that they are referred to someone that does classes. If you have down payment assistance people that are buyers and you don't know where to get them into a class, you can refer them to me. I teach classes twice a month. They are free and they're online. Okay. After they get done, they will get their certificate, which is good for 2 years. And they do need to send that to their lender. And that has to be done before their final approval. So right now, I'm just letting you know, you guys, if you ever get someone that's going to get down payment assistance from the state and they get approved for a loan for that, you need to have them in a class ASAP. And so you'll want to contact me. So right now I'm scheduled, I've got 2 in February coming up and I have 2 in March. So they can get in. If they miss the first part, they can take that another first part as long as there's time in their frame. Otherwise, they can pay and take it online through Washington State Housing Commission. And there's also 5-hour straight classes in person, but right now I don't suggest that due to COVID. So that's why we're doing them all online. Okay. So that next hump is the appraisal. So let's say we finally notify our client when the appraisal is happening on the house that they're buying. When it's due, it comes in, the lender calls you and says, all is great. It came in at value. Sweet. We just notified the agent, hey, the appraisal came in, it came in at value, no conditions. Okay. Sometimes it comes in at value and it says, but because it's an FHA loan, but the eaves need to be painted with 2 coats of paints and the inspector, the appraiser has to go back out with a special form that the lender sends to sign off on it. So that could mean that we're extending our closing. So it just depends. So, but when you get a low appraisal, we need to notify the agent that there is a low appraisal and that we need them to come down on price. But before I send that document, I usually call the agent and let them know. And we kind of do a little verbal discussion about what's going to potentially happen before I fill out that form, because the form is literally, you notify them what you want, and then the answer is yes or no. I mean, it's not like there's extra negotiation. So you're really wanting to let the agent know, hey, came at low appraisal. We didn't do a 22 AD. And my clients don't have cash for this. So I'm just letting you know it came in low, and we're going to send you over the notice. I just want you to be prepared. The clients still love the home, and we're hoping that your sellers see the benefit of just accepting the new price going forward. And, otherwise, if they go back on the market, it's just not going to look good that they didn't go forward on this. That's if it was a conventional, right? It is, even if they did anything else, it's not going to look good. But if it's an FHA appraisal and it's been recorded, that sticks with the house for 6 months. So they can't accept any other FHA offers because it will be at that price. That's the appraised price. VA, it sticks with the, it doesn't stick with the house because it's usually not recorded. Greg mentioned something on the internet the other day. I have to look. But conventional, it doesn't stick with the house. So anybody can get a new appraisal at any time and it could be different. Okay.
I think it sticks with the VA person, actually.
Person. I was wondering if it sticks with the person. That's what I thought.
Yep.
But I couldn't remember. And I'm like, well, that seems weird, but okay. But yeah. So, and I've not had any VA appraisals not go through with the correct amount. So I haven't done that yet. So I'm not worried about that. But you do want to provide a notice if it does come in low, and that gets signed around. If it came in good, there's nothing to sign. Everything is moving forward as normal. So at appraisal point, this can be really close to closing. In fact, I just had a appraisal come back Tuesday, and we're supposed to be closing on the 2nd. So it can come back really close to closing. So as soon as you find out about the appraisal and you let your client know all is good in the world, right? And everything's done and we're moving forward, what is the next step? What's the next big major thing? It's all right not to know, you guys. I mean, you're literally newer agents. You haven't really done this. So, but I just want to let you give a guess, but at this
like final walkthrough, probably, depending on what appraisal.
Right, exactly. You can, so there's a couple things. Number one,
title documents.
Yes. So you're going to be looking at number one, scheduling your walkthrough, and you can do that up to 7 days before or 3 days before closing. And sellers get really afraid because the agents don't tell them that this is something that per their contract that buyers are allowed to do. It states in the contract they can do a walkthrough, you guys. If you actually read your contract, they're allowed to do that. They're walking through to make sure, number one, that the things that they requested, if there were repairs, are completed. Now, if a repair was corrected, asked to be corrected, like a leak in a wall, and the repair was done, and all you asked for is the repair to be completed, some people do actually have the repair completed and put the drywall back in place, mud it, retexturize it, and paint it. Do you think that some people would think that that did not require that? People, I mean, let's be real. If someone asked you to repair a leak that's coming from the ceiling, would you not? We would all guess, hey, they're going to fix that. They're going to put drywall back up, retape it, mud it, paint it, texturize it, and we're all good to go. Do you think that's the first thing that's coming across in the seller's mind? No. Some of them might want to leave the hole, but that would be wrong. So honestly, in some of your inspections, we need to discuss that. I always say, have a licensed and bonded professional assess and repair as needed, including patching the wall and bringing back to current finished, whatever, find the words that has to look like it's not got a leak and it actually matches the rest of the ceiling, right? So you might want to consider that in the future. But when they're doing a walkthrough, they're walking through to make sure that everything is the way it was stated. On the Form 22D, usually we check cellar cleaning. So you're walking through to make sure that the 500 pounds of garbage in the garage has been removed. Now, 7 days before, it might not be. So number one, you need to prepare your clients that they're not done yet. And if we walk in too early, they still may not have completed all the stuff. I mean, the repairs should be done, but the getting rid of garbage and the cleaning might not be done because there's boxes everywhere and there's probably garbage everywhere, unless it's a vacant home and you saw it vacant, right? What I do suggest for you guys to do, just to make sure, is if you go in too early and things are not cleaned up and it's supposed to be clean, you probably should go in there a day or two before closing to make sure the garbage has been removed if that is a requirement on your contract, okay? Because you will be stuck with removing that for your client. I mean, you can try to get the other agent to do it, but the likelihood is slim. And they might say, yeah, my client was supposed to do it and come and do that. I had someone, they left furniture on the front of the house that said free and moved. And when my clients go to move in, it's still sitting out front. I called the agent and I said, that's not okay. They need to come and remove this and put it in front of their new house for free. They removed it, but it's not okay. So you need to understand that, have a good working relationship with the agents. The agent was really appalled that they did that. So that was good news. It's just not okay.
Quick question on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had to, in our very competitive bid, we had to, of course, waive the inspection, of course, and but my buyer wanted to do one, obviously, anyway, for his own benefit, knowledge. There's some, finished basement that hadn't been permitted, and so there's a bunch of stuff that we had to look into anyway. But anyway, so the response was no, you can't do that before close. You can't do your own inspection before close. And so we just had to sort of swallow that, kind of negotiated to try to get something, even an earlier close, to try to get an inspection before close, even though it was waived. My question is will we still be able to do the walkthrough? So we can, even though there's nothing in theory that has been changed for us, can we just make sure that the state of the place has changed? And
contract that you need to walk through. I'm surprised that they wouldn't allow that. I always, like right now, I have down payment assistance people that actually are required to get a receipt for an inspection before closing, before period. And even though they waive inspection, they're allowed to have an inspection because it's not contingent on the sale of the house. So either the agent goes with the flow or the buyer financing fails because they need the receipt for closing. I mean, I'm just shocked that anyone wouldn't allow an inspection if it was waived.
Yeah. So our lenders, so we're working through that. Our lender's not pushing on that, but it's more of just, and my buyer's okay with it right now, but I was just, I was a little bit surprised that I wasn't able to even do that. But so you're saying that we should be able to do the inspection, even though, because his basic logic is that he's been through many, he's a buyer's agent as well, right? So he's been through many cases where the deal falls through because even though they even though they can't use that for whatever reason, they just lose their earnest money and they just say, okay, I'm not going through or whatever it is, but because they've done that inspection before close, it's not a good.
That's unfortunate that buyer has done that. And like, to me, that kind of feels like they they have not prepped their clients well, and they've got squidgy clients. So, I mean, honestly, the reality is that when you get in a contract in this market, how many people are willing to get out of it unless there is a disaster area in there? I mean,
Yeah.
and how much earnest money they put down? If they put down a substantial amount, are they really going to want to lose that money?
Yeah, it's 20,000. It's a good amount.
That's a good
Yeah, so
amount of
it's-
money. So why would they?
Yeah.
No, that's just ridiculous. Now, if your clients swallow that and go with it, that's fine. But I would let you know right now, when I'm dealing with agents up front with contracts, I put in the offer saying that it's waived after we get it accepted. Or at the point I'm talking to them, I say, you know, we waived this, and that's perfectly fine. They know the market. We are prepared for this. We know we're not asking for anything unless it's a major hazard on the inspection. But they have to have it for the down payment assistance loan to have this go through, and we're very well approved. So after we get through this and sign off on everything, we are fine with doing the inspection a week or two later, even closer towards when the appraisal is getting ready to happen. But they want it for their own knowledge. They're not going to get out on this. They want the house. They're not willing to lose their money. They just don't have the funds to do that. So usually the agents, oh yeah, no problem, big deal.
Yeah. That's literally negotiation passed down, and it was a no.
That is
But,
just
yeah.
well, I would like to know who that agent is so that I can put a note on my. I have a note of a few agents I don't care to work with.
I'll tell you offline. Yeah, that's fine. Okay.
And you'll find this, you guys, that not every agent is made equal. And there are some people that just make life difficult for everyone for no reason. I'm like, don't you want to make this easier for your client? You're making it more difficult than it has to be. And, you know, when I struggle with agents that are just not pleasant and not helpful to make the process go for everyone, because my goal is to make it good for the sellers too, because a win-win is better, right? I mean, they can believe that they won more, but we believe we won more. So we're all good. So we want that. We don't want it to be a fight, because then it makes it painful. It's just not good. So I do have a note of 2 or 3 agents I'd care not to work with again. And actually, when I see them on a house that one of my clients wants to see, I take them to see it, but I pray, don't like it. So, and it seems to work. So we're good. But yeah, so yeah, that's unfortunate about the inspection, but typically you can have one as long as you've really explained that to the other agent. In terms of walkthroughs, you can have your walkthroughs. It's part of the contract. And in fact, if the other agent hasn't explained it to his seller that this is something that everyone can do, then it's a surprise to them, and they're worried. They're worried that you're going to come in and pick it apart and you're going to pull out of the contract. That's not what's happening. Usually they want to just check on the repairs. They want to measure the area to make sure that their new sofa they're planning to buy fits. And they want to measure the space again for the new refrigerator they're going to update and the washer and dryer. I mean, that's the stuff they're looking at. They just want to look at the house and go, yay, we're going to get this in like 3 days. I can't wait. That's what it is. Okay. Another note though, on this, when you're doing a walkthrough and let's say it's vacant or people have already left, but closing hasn't happened. How many of you, let's put it this way. What does seller cleaning mean to you? Anyone?
That the seller's going to remove all their junk from the house.
Right.
Do a basic cleaning, like a vacuum or sweep.
Okay.
I have a question. In COVID times, though, are we not expected to do a little deeper cleaning than that, or does the buyer have to come in and do his own sort of COVID level cleaning if he's
Well,
concerned?
unless you would like to pay for it as part of your service, you certainly can do that.
Okay.
But it is not required by us. That is not, it says in the contract, seller cleaning. So,
Right.
so it doesn't say buyer agent cleaning.
Right. I'm saying, what's the expectation? I'm saying, like in today's time, where we've got COVID-19 running around.
If my buyer has the expectation that house is cleaned by me or the seller, like with deep cleaning, there needs to be a discussion, because the reality is that is not an expectation that everyone has. I mean, if 1% of the people have that, we need to have a discussion. So it's seller cleaning, and everyone's version of cleaning is different. I will give you a little story. 3 years ago, I listed a house for a high school friend of mine, and it was a struggle getting this house sold because her version of clean wasn't everyone else's version of clean in the world. And in fact, the house needed to be completely repainted. And I will tell you what I did, but do not do this for people unless you have free time. I offered, because they didn't have funds, to pay for the paint. And I took 2 days from my schedule and I painted the entire house except for 2 bedrooms myself. And I removed the cabinet doors in the kitchen and repainted the entire cabinetry. Now, I know how to do that stuff. I did it. It took me 2 days, put it back together, took new photos of the house, and I called every person that came through the house the first time to come back in and see it again and sent photos. And I was able to get it sold to one of the people that had already previously walked through. Now, when it came time for closing, that day of closing was my only day off that I'd had for weeks. And I was super excited. I was coming home to sit down. It was a Friday, chillax, break open a cocktail, you know, Friday. I got a call from the agent and she cussed at me, swore me out up and down that my people were nasty and blah, blah, blah. She had gone over and it was disgusting. I was pissed. Called my friend and said politely, this is what happened. And I got yelled and he goes, yeah, she contacted me and my wife and cussed us out too. And that's inappropriate, by the way. You do not call the sellers and cuss them out as an agent. You talk to your agent on the other side about the situation. They were mortified. She goes, my client will be there in 3.5 hours and it better be clean. Like, she goes, you need to get someone over there. Like, who has a house cleaner that's going to be over there like this, right? And that's an extra $300 or $400 to get that done, by the way, that I hadn't planned to do. So I went home, I put everything away, grabbed every cleaning supply I owned, scrubbing tools, everything, drove over to the house, and I cleaned that house for 3.5 hours. I had to clean out the refrigerator, which is most people won't do. So cellar cleaning is different versions, right? But when I open the refrigerator and there's stuff leaked from garbage that was left in there, you know, like cans, that's not okay. So I scrubbed out the refrigerator. I moved it out. There was so much dog hair under the refrigerator, I could make a whole wig out of it. It was massive. I had to clean that up. There was hair in the sink. I had to clean that out. The toilets were not scrubbed. The shower was not scrubbed. The floor was not scrubbed. Nothing was swept. I spent 3.5 hours doing that. And the new buyer came just as I was getting ready to leave. And I apologized and said what I was there for. And he appreciated that. So he wasn't angry at all, but the agent overreacted. But it did not get clean. And my clients promised me that they would clean. So their version of clean and my version of clean are totally 2 different things, including the agent's version of clean. So I think that the best thing for you to do is with your buyers to prepare them that seller cleaning may not be the way they clean. So be prepared to clean the house the way you like it. Okay. Now, if you would like to provide that service for them, provide them with some extra credit, give them call a house cleaner and offer to pay the first $100 of it, you know, if you'd like, as a homeowner's pre-owner gift, and they can pay the rest. And that would be your gift to them as part of your services. You're giving them partial credit for the house cleaning if you'd like, or you can pay for the whole thing if you want, as part of your value added service. But just prepare them. And on the selling side, you need to prepare your sellers for what actual cleaning means. Okay. That means cleaning out the toilets, the tub, the sweeping, the mopping, and the refrigerator, and cleaning off the stove. Pull up the wire things and clean out the little pans underneath if they have one of the electric stoves. I mean,
Do you have like a checklist or something for sellers cleaning, or
no, but
like
you can
handout?
you can make it up if you'd like. I mean,
Yeah.
everything I do, it's a funny thing. I have a new EA, an executive admin, and I'm being asked so many questions about my process and timelines. And do you have that written down? I'm like, no, it's in there. I wish there was like a hookup so I could just dump
Yeah.
information. But no, I don't. And you know how much time it's, thank God I have someone training her. I have hired a company to do the training for KW, right? And because I don't know what I don't know either. I mean, if they're going to train her for more stuff on command than I know, that is fabulous because I don't know it. And I don't have time to sit there and write all this stuff out. I did sit down the other night and I just went through all my process of buying and selling, everything from contract to close for her. And then I typed it up in a real quick email and I sent it off and she's already taken care of it. So Yeah, having a checklist for your sellers is great. Now, they may not do everything. I do tell them, I said, I realize it may not be your thing, but when I clean a house to sell, I also spray out the runners of all my windows and clean it with like Q-tips and pencils and cotton swabs because I want them clean. I do that with my slider doors. I have windows cleaned from the inside. If I can afford it, I will have someone come and clean the upper windows on the house or the outside windows. Back in the day when I was younger, I didn't have funds for that. So I just did the lower windows. I swept out my garage. I literally swept the garage out. I remove paint. And if they tell them if you're going to leave some paint for your clients that are not too old, great. But if you have super old paint that's no longer been used right now, crack the lids open, let them start drying out. If they're water-based, they should dry out in a week or two. And then they can literally just dump that in the garbage can. But if it's oil-based or tarnish or stains, there are places you can actually go and dump them. It will take them time and energy to do it. But that's not okay to leave garbage. I mean, that's wrong. And I would highly suggest that. So I have them sweep and clean and just do your basic toilet scrubbing, cleaning out the kitchen. It would be great if they'd vacuum out the drawers and cabinets because crumbs, gross. I mean, I know it's more work and they're usually in a hurry because they're down to the timeline and they need to be out by 5 o'clock on that day. And they don't feel like they have time to come back and do a final clean. I get that, but it's just really a nice thing to help a person out. Because honestly, as a buyer, I'm still going to go in and clean a whole house no matter what, even not with COVID, because I know I cleaned it with cleaning fluid, like something that kills bacteria. I know people, my poor husband, he's not here. So when I met him, his house was always pristine clean. And when we went to sell his house, I said, let's go clean the bathroom. And I brought in cleaning supplies. He goes, what are you doing? He goes, I just use hot water. I go, no soap and bacteria. Oh my God, you're grossing me out now. So people have different versions of clean. So these are things that I just suggest think about when you're moving forward. Am I killing you with my words and my drama? Okay. Everyone's a little different. So again, prepare them for that seller cleaning and do whatever you need to do with that aspect of it. Yes, you will be calling escrow and checking to see where they are at with, did your sellers sign all their forms? Is everything taken care of? Has the HOA been cleared if it's a condo? Have they gotten all that information? Have they been able to pull the payoff statements for water and sewer and those things? Just to see if they're up to date on that. Then you call your lender. Are they okay? Have they finished everything being in? How close are we to final approval? When do you think that CD will be out? And then I call every day or text every day. Is the CD going out today? Is the CD going out today? Is the CD going out today? And they say, yay, the CD is going out today. I go, fantastic. Then I tell my buyer, I say, hey, expect the CD to come via email. You need to immediately open it the minute you see it and click that you've seen it to start the 3-day time clock. That's just part of our process for our TRID. And then as soon as that timeline ends, the documents should be going to escrow and then they will call you to schedule your signing. Signing could be the day before, the night before, or the morning of closing. So be prepared for that. You may, if it's morning of closing, you may have to drive to the title company to do the signing. So there are those discussions to prepare them for a notary at last minute to do their signing at their home or their office or wherever they need to meet. And the morning of signing would probably have to take place at escrow office, and it would have to be like at 8 in the morning. Okay. 8:30 in the morning is when it needs to be done. At that point, after the CD has gone out, they've the final approval, the CD has gone out, they're scheduling their signing. Again, these are things you're notifying them of. You'll see the emails from escrow. They will notify both agents when the signings have happened for the seller and for the buyers. And then I usually, the morning of the closing, even if they've signed in the morning, I wait for the escrow to send an email that says release to record. That means the documents are now being sent to the county. Okay. At that point, I let my buyers know the documents have been released to the county. I know it's 9 a.m. or 1 p.m. or whatever the case might be. Closing should happen today by 5:30. However, in Snohomish County and King County, and it has been a lot, and they have notified us that sometimes documents, even though they have come in, do not always close same day. So although we're supposed to close, we might not close today. but I'm going to let you know when those recording numbers come in. If they do come in today, then we are going to meet tonight if that's when you'd like to meet to get your keys, or I can meet you tomorrow if you'd like in the morning to give you your keys at the house. So we had that discussion. I will give you an example of this. My son was supposed to close on December 2nd on his condo. It was Snohomish County. I was up there waiting. I met with another one of my clients up there, and I was going to go meet him at 5:15 at the condo to give him the keys. And at 4:30, no numbers. At 4:45, no numbers. At 5, there's no numbers. I called the escrow company and I said, has it recorded yet? And she goes, we haven't gotten numbers. The agent, I called her. She goes, let me check online. She goes, it's not there. Let me call the escrow agent. She did. She calls me back. She goes, yeah, it's not closing today. And I go, well, I'm meeting him over there to give him the keys. I said, it's vacant. Are the sellers okay with him moving in? Because my understanding is that usually title has insured this for closing on this day. So she called back title, and in fact, it was insured to close. So even though they weren't going to get the recording numbers in, he could move in as long as the seller said okay, and the seller said okay. So I was able to give my son the keys and he could start moving in. Well, guess what? That was Friday. On Monday, all day, no recording numbers. We didn't get recording numbers on that condo until Tuesday at 12:30 in the afternoon. Okay, so you just need to prepare your clients. And if you think that might potentially happen and it is vacant, you need to double check with the agent and the escrow to make sure it's insured. Remember, the seller retains their homeowner's insurance until closing, and the new buyer has homeowner's insurance, so they're double covered. And the clients have to be very careful. But if the sellers allow it, they can move in, even though the recording numbers are not there because of the closing timeline, okay? But you got to double check these things.
When do we, as the buyer's agent, physically get the keys?
Closing at recording numbers.
I mean, not give the key to the client. I mean, when do I actually get the key from the seller?
Well, there's different ways. Every agent's a little different. So I usually contact the selling agent and say, hey, what is your regular process? I said, I know I typically leave the key box on the door and have the agent just notify me when they picked it up on closing day. And then I go out and get the key box the next day or whatever the timeline is. And some of them say, yeah, I'm just leaving the lockbox on for you, or I moved it to a contractor box and you can get it. I had a closing the other day and I didn't even get a chance to ask him. And he goes, oh, I just left the key underneath the back door mat. I'm like, oh, okay. So he went and took his lockbox off right away. And I went and got the key when I met the client there. I have done it where I know I have to be out of town and during closing, and I don't like to have that happen, but it has happened. And I'm really good about scheduling the closings and kind of gauging the contract and not being gone, but sometimes I am because we've had to extend or whatever the case might be. So what I do is I ask the agent, I said, do you mind? I will not give the keys until we have recording numbers. That's my process. I said, but I am leaving town and I want to make sure that the key is at our office prepared for them. Would you mind if I go pick up the key today? And then on Thursday or 3 days from now, when it closes, I will have them go to the office and pick up the key after recording numbers. And some of them are okay with that. Some of them are a big fat no. I had a guy, and he is on my list, that made it difficult for me to get the key on closing. He wanted me to suffer because he didn't feel that it closed in a timely fashion. And he just made it difficult. I was supposed to teach a class. It's 45 minutes away. And he wanted me to wait until, the end of the day, and I would have never been back in time. So he was just rude about the whole thing. He made it very, very difficult. I finally had to let my clients go out and get the key themselves because I couldn't get there. So you want to try to be not that kind of an agent. Let's try to be willing, but you need to be really, really aware and trustworthy of the other agent if they're going to do that, and make sure that they're not moving in before the recording numbers. Okay. And if you really want to make it so that they can only get it at that time, just say, hey, I'm leaving the lockbox on, because then you can see when they logged in to get the key. So, typically at closing, they can go out like a half an hour before closing and get the key and wait for the recording numbers. Okay. How does everyone feel about that? Have I answered this in enough detail for you? Too much detail?
Tons of detail, but it's super helpful.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
And who was supposed to tell me when break was? You failed. No, I'm just joking. I'm joking. We're going to take a 10-minute break right now, people. We got to get some new coffee, go to the bathroom, get some water. Let's be back here at 10:28, and then we're going to actually go down the seller timeline. Okay. See you soon. Just take off the video and make sure you're mute. I'm back, you guys. You having fun? Hey, I really enjoy the classes. Hopefully I'm not going too fast. It's a lot of information to do in 2 hours. And I could have just really glossed over it in generalizations, but I don't think you would have gotten the value of it. Okay. Yep. So I'm going to type in my name again into the chat box for everyone to see, and my phone number. If you do not have a mentor yet, you probably want to get one. You can ask for them. They try to spread the love around, but I am a mentor in our office, and you probably can request one if you'd like one, if you feel like you'd work well with me. If you feel like you would work better with someone else that maybe goes a little bit slower, I would suggest that, because I can't promise I can slow down. So it is just the way I am. And I do cover things over multiple times though, because I don't expect anyone to hear at the same rate of speed. I do have gusts, but I will go over details, and I will have you get onto things like I can walk through an entire contract in a car driving while you're looking at a screen. I mean, it's literally embedded into my brain. But sometimes there's little contracts that less known forms, and I will have you read them to me, and then I will suggest things. So we'll go with that. And when everyone hops back on, I am going to do a final wrap about client gifts, things like that, because we didn't discuss that. And then I'm going to pull up the shared PowerPoint screen. And you probably noticed that. How many of you are really, really bothered that I haven't been flipping the pages on the screen? Some people, like, there's C's and C's that really, like, they need the screen, but not every agent's a C. So I'm going to go with that flow. So I'm going to share the screen again just because I'm supposed to. There we go. And we're going to cover this briefly, and then we'll go into the seller one. So everyone's back on, it looks like. So in every contract, as you probably can see from everything that we discussed, that there could be a variety of areas that the deal could fall apart. You probably all realize that during an inspection, a deal can fall apart, correct? And that's why I discussed how I work with my clients to make sure we're not getting crazy with asking for stuff, because they could have a backup offer. They don't even have to have a backup offer. They could literally call one of the 15 other people and get back into contract before they even have to list it as back on the market. They can just leave it as active because it would be signed around again. Okay. So I prepare my buyers for this fact. And we want to make sure we're not killing the deal. And so there's a lot of things you can do to keep those things alive. You want to be in really good communication with that agent. Even if they're not great at communicating back to you, you need to show that you are communicating, text and email follow-up. Okay. CC in the escrow company, or if you're on a team, your admin, so that they know that the things are being done, that you can show that you were there doing what you needed to do, and that all your deadlines are being watched. And if you're not sure on calculating time, then you need to ask in our intranet, Bill Hansen or John Hansen, Bill Allison or John Hansen, those questions, so that we can make sure that you're staying on those deadlines. You will learn the management process of this, because, and as you get more deals, you just need to, maybe for some of you, you'll have a checklist. On teams, I know they have specific things that they have to do. So what I'm really talking about today is really for individual agents, because if you're a buyer agent on a team, they're going to have a process they have to follow, but they're hitting all these things, if not more, because they have a process they have to follow. Let's see, let me hit this page. Again, development, the relationship with you and the other agent is really, really important and key. Does anyone have questions before we talk about this last tidbit? Oops, with the clients. Okay. Client gifts. I used to do them on the day of signing. I used to show up with them, and I still like that idea. But now that I have too many things happening, too many showings, you'll get to this point. It's just overwhelming, the amount of stuff. And I found that clients don't seem to enjoy the client gift as much when I show up with the keys as they do if I show up 2 to 3 weeks later with it, because now they've gotten the stuff in the house, you know, they've been able to start putting things away. And then now when I show up, I can see how they're doing and give them their client housewarming gift, right? And go over it with them and enjoy it with them, right? Every person's a little different. On average, I was told 10% of your profit. Let's see, not 10%. And so if you make 7,000, no, that'd be 1%. I had to think of that number because 10% would be large. 1% of your profit on average can be spent. Number two, tax information purposes here. If you buy a client gift, it's supposed to only be $25, right? It's a client gift. If you do marketing and claim it as marketing, you can do as much as you want. So all my client gifts are marketing gifts, and I spend what I want on them. So if it is a client where I have sold and I've got a $12,000 or a $14,000 commission check or a $25,000 commission check, I'm spending probably on average $150 to $300 if it was $25,000. I do a little bit overspend because I'm what my daughter would say, extra AF, and that's what sparkles and good stuff. That's what she says. I'm good AF, not bad. So I'm not bad extra, I'm good extra, she says, which is a good thing, I guess, if you're talking about a millennial talking about an adult now. So that's good. So my clients, when I finished selling a $169,000 condo, my commission check was like really small. I mean, if I'm only going to give them one little thing, I'd be basically barely paying for a dinner if I gave them a gift card, right? So if I decide I want to do a gift card because I know they're tight on funds and just got into their first home, I'll do a $50 gift card for like home goods for her, and I'll do a $50 gift card for Lowe's for him. And I will put them in the little I will find pretty things. I won't fold it over in that stupid orange Home Depot card. That's ugly. Okay. It's all about presentation. Make it feel better than it is. I mean, I don't want to get a gift in a paper bag, right? So the idea is make it look pretty. So what I will do is if I'm doing that, sometimes I will do something cute. Like if I know that they drink, because we'll have chit chats. If I know they like wine, or if they like red wine, white wine, or if they do beer, or if they like bourbon, I will do like minis or maybe a small bottle, or I've done a bottle of dark and light specialty beer because my husband and I do beers and things. We like that. So I can go in and I pick out specialty ones from Total Wines and More, and I'll go find an inexpensive 50% off little basket, get some, go to the dollar store and get the filler, shove it in there, put the 2 bottles in there, and then I'll take ribbon and I might punch a hole in the middle of the card holder that I get decorative ones of, and I'll wrap a ribbon around each bottle hanging with the cards, and I might get a dollar balloon or 2 or 3 and put it on there, and I will go deliver that. So think about your presentation. I've even baked sugar cookies and learned how to flood a cookie and delivered cookies that I hand decorated. That was when I had more free time. Nowadays, it's just buy it. Buy it already done. It's so much easier. Also, Home Goods has lovely little treats like specialty popcorns already in their little thing. So my client, she loved popcorn. So I bought one of those, and one of the plastic, it looks like a popcorn holder from the theater, but it was plastic. I put the popcorn in there and slapped that in there with their wine and cider for their daughter. And I bought those little plastic wine glasses that you put you put them together. And I put 3 of them in there so that their daughter could have the sparkling cider and they could have the wine. And then I found a little mini chalkboard and I said, congratulations. And I hung it around the wine bottle. And so you can do whatever makes you happy, right? And there's a lot of agents who will say, oh, I just get them a Ring doorbell. Well, cool. But do they want a Ring doorbell? And basic Ring doorbell doesn't attach to any of the cameras, and you do have to get a subscription eventually to use some. That's like $3 or $4 a month. But does your client want that? So you can do those things. You could, I talk to them and I find out what they're thinking and what their goals are. So the couple that I just sold a little condo to, they've never owned a tool in their life. They don't have tools. So I'm going to go over to Lowe's and I'm buying this really cool $30 tool kit with all this stuff. And I'm going to wrap that up bows, and I'm going to go get the Home Depot card because she's like into decor, and I'm going to get her a $50 Depot card, Home Goods card. And I'm going to wrap that up, and I'm probably going to get some, something else to stick with it. Maybe a bottle of sparkling cider, because I don't know if they're drinkers. So I would just go with Martinelli's and wrap that up and take it over to them. And I'm going to do that probably this weekend, but they're not fully moved in. They're still at their old apartment. So I have to make sure they're there. So does that make sense, you guys, in terms of gifting? You don't have to get crazy. You can be very simple. You could just buy them a card to go to a restaurant. But right now during COVID, a lot of it's outside. So that's why I hadn't been doing that. And we are moving to phase 2. Did you guys hear that? Sweet. That's only 25% inside seating, but that's awesome.
I get to eat at my favorite restaurant again.
Yeah, I know. I can't wait. And they said the bars can't open unless they serve food. That's a bummer. I'm pretty sure if I was a bar owner, I'd be learning to serve food fast.
I think that's a legal requirement in Washington anyway, though.
There's supposed to be, I guess there's a difference in what serving food means. So you can't just have pretzels and carrot sticks. I think they have to have actual food, like a heater or warmer or something in the back. I'm not sure, but there's a lot of breweries that don't serve food, so they have to do only outside seating. So it's interesting. But anyone have questions on client gifts? It's really up to you guys. Everyone has a different version of what they want to do. I just like to customize it to my clients. So that's why I was telling you a little bit about what I do personally. But you can make it there's a company called The Knack, and they have a beautiful presentation. I have a lender that sends me Knack gifts once a year. They're a little spendier, but you open them up like at Christmas time. She sent me one. It comes in a beautiful constructed white box. You pop it open. It's very well packed with all this white shred. By the way, I keep the box. I keep the shred because I reuse. Very important. That stuff is good stuff right in there. So anyway, she sent it to me, and it had these custom snowflake marshmallows and 2 beautiful cans of specialty hot chocolates and 2 beautiful mugs and some honey cinnamon graham crackers, like these specialty kind. So I took out the goodies and I saved the box. I saved the shred for other gifts for my clients, and I've been using them. They're really beautiful, but I'm pretty sure she spends like $80 to $100 on those boxes. And another one she sent me was this ceramic cheese board that was all hand decorated and painted, had a cheese knife and some other things that came with it, specialty goodies like pesto spread and fig jam and stuff like that. So those are other places you can look at doing. I did a client gift for a client out in Spanaway the other day. She had, their address was 213. I would only do it on 3 digits or less. And I went on to Etsy and I ordered a address sign planter, and you can do it horizontal or vertical. And I did a vertical one, and it was in whitewash with black numbers 213, and then the bottom is a little box, and you can plant fake succulents or flowers in it. And so that's for their house, and it was super cute. And that cost me about $85. So I really like that kind of a thing. You can get them a custom doormat. I have a problem. I have quite a few people that aren't married yet, so I'm not quite sure how to customize. So there's some things that I need to figure out on that part of it. but you can do pretty much anything. I had a metal sign made for a family that was metal, and they treat it for outside, and it was basically a split flourish initial. So their last name was Bouchard. So it was a B, and in the middle of the B, it's split, and it has their name Bouchards, and then it goes on the outside of their house. So you can do pretty much anything you want. Okay. So now, unless you have questions, we're going to move forward to the seller transaction timeline. So again, you're going to want to draw another timeline for a seller timeline. So you might want to flip your paper over or get to another side. And how many of you have actually gone into command under opportunities and learned how to adjust your opportunities? 1. Anyone need help with that?
I was going to point out, by the way, Christine, that you got these. I'll send out the soft copy if everyone wants this, but there's these like checklists for the like I was cheating, like in the last one. There's for buyers and for each of the command, stages and follow the checklist. And so I kind of wish command had these in by default, but we just go in and add these to each stage of the checklist and the opportunity. And this is the one for like the listing thing that we're just about to talk about.
Where did you get that one?
So my mentor, Chris Johnson, just sent them to us and we just stuck them into command. So I can forward them on to people if they want them, but they're built for KW. I don't know why they're in by default.
Yeah, and you can, if you want to send that to everyone, or if you can send it to me and people, you can request it, or if anyone wants.
I'll just put my email in the chat here if anyone wants to just ask me.
People can get that. I have my own. You can actually change the different stages within your opportunities. There's ways to edit it. So I have edited and changed some names and things and information in my own. But right now, because I have a transaction coordinator, she's taking care of that. I just update the main opportunity as we go if she hasn't done it. But otherwise, someone else touches mine. Yes?
I'd love to know how you did that. I mean, I don't want to take up the time in this class, but if you have some time later.
I think we will. We'll see what we can do, get through this part. If not, I can quickly go in and see if I can show you how to do a quick edit. That may be something. You can also schedule time with Crystal, and she has an online scheduler, and you can schedule 15 minutes to learn how to edit your stages of your opportunity. And that's all free. And you can look up Crystal. Her last name starts with a P in our intranet. And you can say, hey, Crystal, can I get a calendar invite so that I can ask you how to go through editing my stages in opportunities, and she'll do that. Oh, I'm sorry. I had to look at something pinged. I'm like, I don't understand what that is. I'm being reminded I have an eye appointment. So that's good news. So anyway, we're going to hit up the seller timeline at the beginning. Again, we're going to start with the beginning of the timeline. Let's go here. Okay. So it's from the timeline starting with mutual contracts, what we're going to do, because, you know, with your sellers, you have a variety of things you do before you list the house, but let's just start the timeline with a mutual contract. And you're now on the seller side. Now you're the listing agent. Okay. And the end is closing. So starting with the mutual contract, let's take 2 minutes to quickly run down on those big milestones in the closing. And then I'll get the tidbits from you. Okay. So if you've already done that, great. If you haven't, just go ahead and fill out the milestones there. Okay, should be pretty quick. Does anyone want to share with me what are the main milestones on the listing side after you've gotten mutual contract? Anyone want to share?
Well, I mean, I'm cheating here. I'm going off the checklist here. But they've got the major 4 areas. Again, same ones: escrow, inspections, appraisal, financing, and clear to close. And then there's much detail in each one.
Great. Okay. That's correct. I mean, pretty much the big milestones are pretty much similar, but we are going to be having different discussions with the seller on the seller side, right? So as soon as we've accepted a mutual contract, we are, as a seller's agent, making sure that the mutual contract is going to escrow and that is set up. And we are then, of course, taking care on, as an agent, sending it to our TC if we have a team TC, or manually uploading it to break it out in DocuSign and then load it into Command. We are waiting to hear from the buyer's agent about the inspection and inform our sellers when the inspection will be and that they should be out of the home for that timeline of up to 3 hours. Okay? They should not be there. If you have an elderly client that really can't be mobile and cannot leave. They may stay, they can stay in their room and relax and watch TV, but the inspector may have to go into the room to do some things, and they just need to be notified of that. Okay. But typically sellers need to be out of the house during that timeline. Let's see what else. You will probably want to prepare your clients for the fact that if you have an FHA deal and the house is older and there's chipped and peeling paint, that they may get called out. You probably should have already done that before you listed the house and put in the type of financing you were going to accept. Okay. Because that is your responsibility to find out if that house can pass those inspections. Otherwise, if the seller is willing to address those situations when it comes up on appraisal. So if you're dealing with a 1905 home that's got all kinds of peeling paint and knob and tube wiring, and there's a lot of questionable things about it, some dry rot, I probably wouldn't put down that we're going to accept an FHA or VA loan. It'll probably be cash or conventional only. Okay. Because the likelihood of it not passing, and if they don't have funds, they're not going to get it closed. Okay. There's just things that you want to know, but just prepare your clients for that ahead of time. Then they'll know the inspection's coming, notify them that the earnest money has been deposited. So that is all good. When it has been deposited, let them know that during the inspection that if the agent has really well prepared their client, we should only see requests for major hazards or appraisal required items. Now, as a selling agent, you should have already taken care of those appraisal items before you even have it listed, which means there will be 2 appropriate sized earthquake straps on the water heater, not the skinny little metal ones with holes in it. Those are like not okay. It'll be a requirement to get the, I think it's 2-inch wide earthquake straps bolted appropriately around the water tank in the 2 spots. It is not a requirement to have a pan under it, but honestly, if it's at the same level and within 4 feet of the living space, it should have. But if they're not going to get that updated at that point, then it won't be there. If it's a newer tank, it'll probably have an expansion tank on top. If not, I mean, that's not an appraisal item. It's just so that you know. You will want to ask your seller if they've had the furnace and the water heater serviced and how old it is, because if it's over 12 years old, it's end of life and it will be called out as end of life, and they will more than likely get a request to either replace or service and repair and have a home warranty request. That's just a general, let them know. Or they can provide a home warranty as a benefit for buying their home for their clients. Okay. You will need carbon monoxide and fire alarms, smoke detectors on each level of the house. And if it is a larger home, there are supposed to be one in the hallway down by the bedrooms. And there will need to probably be another one in the main living area, and the same for downstairs in a like a rec room. New law, I don't know if you guys have seen inspections lately, but they will say, the inspectors will say, oh, you need to have a smoke and carbon monoxide detector in every single room. An older home cannot be held to the same requirement as new homes. That is a requirement for new homes. That is not a requirement for an old home. However, it is a requirement to have a carbon monoxide detector within, I believe it's 6 to 8 feet of the bedrooms and in the other areas of the home. Now, if I get an inspection request as a listing agent that says that they want inspectors, fire alarms in every room, I call the agent and say, you do realize that that is not code for older homes. That is for newer homes. And that is not a requirement for an older home. Older homes have to have a carbon monoxide detector and a smoker within 6 to 8 feet of the bedrooms and one in the main area if the home is large enough for that. Like if they're a Rambler that's 1,200 square feet or less, one carbon monoxide smoke detector down by the bedrooms and one in by the kitchen is almost too much. I mean, but 2 is fine. And if there is no carbon monoxide detector in the home because it's older, you should probably get one and affix it to the wall and not down. And they can do plug-in ones to pass appraisal. But honestly, if you talk to any inspector, the carbon monoxide detector shouldn't be at the floor level. It should be up higher. Okay. So, and they have the ability to screw in a wall. And I think some of them have sticky back tape you can put up. But just letting you know this. So some agents buy a couple of those plug-in kind to have in their car in case they're out and they see the client doesn't have it and it's easy to take care of. You can do it as a listing bonus that you work with them. Okay. So, and as a gift for the new buyers. So there's that. So prepare them for those appraisal type items. Okay. Because if the inspection comes back for them, you're going to have to actually negotiate on those contracted items. Okay. So you have the inspection, you negotiate that, it gets passed. Now it's time to wait for the appraisal to get scheduled. Let the client know that the appraisers will come out, and the appraised price is the appraised price. Typically, if it comes in $10,000, $20,000 lower, then there may be a point in which we can try to talk with the appraiser, ask them, show them other comps that we did to support our value. And it is your job as a listing agent to do that if it comes in lower. You can also try to ask for another appraisal if they won't make an adjustment, but that means you're going to be extending your timeline on your sale. And you won't know if it comes in lower until you receive a notice from the agent, and they have in your contract a particular timeline, and you want to see what they filled out or what the default timeline is to receive that notice in case of low appraisal. Okay. Anyone have questions on that?
Yeah, I do. So if the appraisal comes in lower and we want to negotiate a different price, or not a different price, but hoping to change the outcome of the appraisal, can we talk directly to the appraiser, or do we always just go back to the agent?
No, you would be, as a listing agent, talking your best if you can to the appraiser.
Oh, right. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. That's right.
I see it came in lower. Can you, I see you can request the appraisal, look at it and say, I see that you brought these up, but these are different. Can I send you the comps to show you where we're at with this? And you can try to negotiate with them, but I'm going to tell you right now, you'll talk to any agent. It's not easy to get an appraiser to change their mind. Okay. And you could then go back to the lender and see if you guys can request a separate appraisal, but then the buyer's ending up paying for it. So you might have to make an exception for that. Maybe the seller might offer to pay for the second appraisal if they think it's going to benefit them, but then they also have to get an extension on the closing. So it's pretty rare that you're going to fight those appraisals. So you need to be really fairly good about setting your pricing. Okay. And that's why right now 22 ADs are how you win an offer. Yeah. So I will tell you too that homes with actual basements, an appraiser has the ability to base it on their opinion, to give anywhere from 0 to 50% of the value of that square footage. They do not have to give the full. They do not have to give 50%. They don't have to give 20. They can give none. I had a beautiful home on Lake Tapps listed and accepted an offer for a particular price, and it came in $30,000 below because the 900 square foot finished basement with a full bathroom, bedroom, fireplace, a door up out to the patio and windows was only given 20% value. That took off $30,000. Not good. So typically in a seller's market, I've not had that happen very often, but this particular VA appraiser decided that it was not going to happen. So what I did is, because it was a VA loan, and you guys do realize that the VA loan, they don't have to put any money down. They don't have to put earnest money down. They don't have to pay for their own closing costs. But these people were paying their own closing, but they were only using their home as a contingent for the money to go down on the next loan. And so honestly, they had a lot of flexibility. So I called the agent and said, listen, the appraisal we know is low. And it came in low at this price. I said, but my client can't move forward if they do not have another $10,000 on this sale. So we will be pulling out of this contract if you're not able to make it work with the lender to provide us with that extra $10,000. And so he worked it out. He was a little stressed out, but he worked it out, and they came back and they were able to fix it and bring in that extra 10 so my clients could close. So we were still only 20,000 below appraised price. Didn't make anyone happy, didn't make me happy. But we were able to close and move forward on her next purchase. So those are things that could have killed the deal right there, right? So these are deal killers. You have to really think about how we can make it work. Because with an FHA loan, they're not required to go above their finance price. And unless they put in the offer that they have a 22 AD, and they've also, so here's the other thing that people don't realize, that even if they put in a 22 AD and I'm going to have to check this with John. My understanding is that the FHA amendatory clause, which you have to sign about 3 days to 5 days before closing, where the seller and buyer sign off that the seller doesn't have to pay any more than the actual finance price, that may supersede the 22 AD. And so lately, because people were questioning that, I've said that the 22 AD is superseding the FHA amendatory clause in my form 34, and I need to go in with John to confirm that. So just so you know that you gotta pay attention. You got to know and understand what these forms mean and how to help your client move forward as a seller. Okay. So anyway, you get done with your inspection response. They know that's all come down, and we've gotten to the appraisal. That's been taken care of. Now we're in agreement there. The seller also fills out a basic form at the very beginning with escrow, their basic opening package. They're not providing anything. They don't have to. They're just waiting for the appraisal to come in, making sure that escrow has pulled their HOA documentation, if they had to make sure they're up to date, and taking care of paying off their final closing statements for electric and water and sewer and things like that. You're letting your clients know that as we get closer, that they will be called as soon as documents are to escrow for selling. Some of them actually can do that. So it just depends on the escrow company and when the signing date will be for them. And then you're going to want to make sure that they're well prepared to understand that they need to be packed up and their house needs to be clean by 5 p.m. on the closing date that is set. Now, worst case scenario, they can have until 9 p.m., but 5 p.m. is typical. I've had it where I had buyers waiting to move in, and the agent said the clients needed until 9 p.m. So I was out there at 8:50 and they were still loading the moving trucks. And the people were not pleasant. They kept driving by me and flipping me off and cussing at me. They were not happy to be selling their home. They were mad because I was there to give keys to the client and they didn't want to be out. And I was as nice as I could be. And I said, I am sorry, but you were notified to be out by 9 p.m. and my buyers are going to be here. I said, and then I called the agent. I said, you need to know that if they're not gone at 9 p.m., we will have to call the police because they're also being verbally abusive and flipping me off. And the neighbors next door were their friends, so they were helping in the situation. They finally did leave. We got the keys, but it wasn't the best experience in the end for my buyers. Everything else was smooth as silk. So you want to make sure your buyers understand that they need to be prepping and packing and be out and cleaned up and not leave garbage there. Okay. That's part of your job as setting expectations for your sellers and making the whole process good. Because that other agent, a buyer's agent, is going to be looking at how that seller deals with things. And that's what develops those relationships in our industry. I mean, there are times when I've had offers accepted just because they like me better than the other agents. And I'm the lowest offer. And they tell their client, you know what, it may be a lower offer, but this agent is going to make this go really smooth for us. And these people seem like they're not going to work very well with us. And we've won. So agent relationships can really help. So it's really important that you're doing your job as a listing agent. So you make sure that they're well aware of that. The signing has been done. Let's see what else. Just be prepared to maybe make adjustments if something happens with the state bond, takes an extra day or two. Sometimes underwriting's running a little slow. Let your client know, yes, we know you need to sell this. We know we need to close this. But unfortunately, this is sometimes happening, but we are closing. The documents are going to be there. This is what's happening. And just prepare them for any potential changes. If they have a contingent offer going forward or a house that they have to buy, just make sure you're communicating well with that agent as well, so that the timelines can be as close together as possible so that we can get this closed for everyone. Does anyone have questions on this timeline?
What is the final thing the sellers do that they sign and then their money goes directly to, I'm assuming it goes into the account that they designated, right?
Right. Or yes.
Or
Or
it's come in person and sign as well?
No, it can be a notary.
Okay.
It can be a notary. Seller side is so much simpler in many ways.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
It's easier in that sense, but sometimes it's just a matter of really you're setting expectations for them on what might happen on the buyer side of things. And making sure that they're prepared and ready to move, and that they've got things set up for moving to their next place, and making sure that they set up their accounts on that place, because you're acting as the buyer's agent for them as well on their move forward generally, right? You want to make sure that they leave the box number for the mailbox and the key on a notepad, so that the clients have that. They leave all the garage door openers. If there's a lock to, if they're in a condo and there's a lock to a garbage thing out in the thing, they need to leave the lock for that. They need to make sure that if there's any special keys to anything in the house, they need to leave that. If there's any special notes on how to run a generator, be nice if they left that. If there's any additional warranties left on the appliances or how to run them, leave them in a book. I typically ask my clients, do you have any warranty or documentation on any of these appliances, any of the booklets and things? And if they say yes, then I put them in a notebook and I leave them for the new buyer, right? And I set that on the counter so that it's there and available. Now, obviously during COVID, people shouldn't be all touching it, but you can put it in a drawer. I had a client that she goes, oh yeah. And she brings out a box and it was like alphabetized and had everything in there. I was like, I love you. I love people like that. So it's nice for the new buyer to have all that documentation. Like they had rain gutter things and all that stuff was in there with all the warranties and all that good stuff. So it was all prepared. That's always nice to have sellers do if they have it. You want to make sure they leave any additional keys. Now, here's the thing. They need to lock up and leave, right? And there's a key in the key box. How do you leave your house and lock your house up and still have a key? Question mark, right? Depends. If they can, they could lock the front door, leave the key in the house. Everyone's outside the house, but one person that can move quickly. They go to the garage door and they hit run and they jump over the sensor and they get out really quick. Then it's locked. That's how you do it. That's it. Otherwise, if they don't feel like jumping over the sensor, they can lock the front door, but they're going to have to hide that key somewhere. So I have them hide it and take a picture of it. And it can't be in a place that a random soul is going to figure out how to find the key, right? Maybe it's around the side of the house, underneath a stepstone, the third one in. You need to make sure that they text that to you and send you a picture so that you can forward that to the agent. Okay. And sometimes I will go and pick up the key from my client. If I have time, I bring an extra piece of really good packing tape. And here's a little trick. Sometimes people go, oh, well, they put keys under the mat. So everyone lifts up the mat to look for a key. But if you put it in the left-hand back corner and you tape it to the mat, if they lift up the mat, they can't see a key because it's taped to the mat. So different ideas, different things. So whatever you think, if it's in a really high crime kind of potential area, you might just want to go pick it up and then meet your client there with that key. So just depends. Or have them drop it off with the agent and you can pick it up from the agent.
Yeah, this may be a little bit of minutia, but so I also sent you the checklist as well to a couple folks here. There's little things in there. There are items that I'm not sure what they mean. Like there's a green sheet. Do we still use green sheets on the escrow side? And there's you don't, okay, just ignore green sheet.
You have to have your documents all loaded up to get paid. So it behooves everyone to learn how to use DocuSign, load it up. And as soon as it goes out, it will trigger, there's a commissions tab and that will cause that will happen. We don't use the green sheets anymore. Okay, good. So this is like an old checklist, looks like. Okay, so there's probably items like that. On the other side, there was like a KW processing fee to be included in the on the appraisal financing on the buyer's checklist. Maybe that's old as well. Maybe that's taken care of. Okay, so there's probably some old items in here in this checklist that need to be updated. That's why they don't send this around. Okay, no problem. That's all right. I mean, it's old. It's always still good information to use, but some of that is older. But yeah, that's the timeline for that. And here's a little, I give my sellers a gift too. And if they're a seller and a buyer with me, the gift is bigger. So I do like gifting. It's one of my favorite things.
Is the same guidance on the seller gift, 1% or something? And
yeah, but so I don't want to go too crazy because then I could be frittering my money away, like real easy. But I do love to give gifts and I like it to be personalized and I like the gift to look like it's more expensive than it is. So, but I do frequent Home Goods, the dollar store. I find things in a variety of places to make things look really cool. If I get a gift and it's a super cool vase or a box or a bag, I'm saving it. I'm putting it away. And I go buy inexpensive tissue paper and shred. And if I need balloons, I go to the dollar store. I mean, I do a lot of dollar store work, a lot of things. So, and also you can utilize people that you know that run craft businesses in the area that will do things for you that you're willing to pay for, right? So you can do that. I will tell you this, everyone says that, I give them my keychain that says KW on it and our team name, or I give them a coffee mug. And I mean, like everyone I've talked to says that they never use those things. And although those are truly marketing gifts, nobody's using them. They're giving them away. So the people are giving them to Value Village or to Goodwill. And do you think that the people, people that don't care and can't buy a house are probably using the mug, right? So let's be aware that it is super cool if you can do something like, and it's more expensive. You can buy, I know Cutco does a lot of presentations for agents. They're a little spendier, but you can get beautiful wooden cutting boards with a scene of the Mount Rainier and their names on it. And on the back, you can engrave your information. Cool. They also have like ice cream scoops and utility scissors and things where you can engrave your name on the back of the blade. So these are things that they can see when they're using them. That's cool, but it's like a $70 ice cream scoop. Yeah. So I hope they like ice cream because you're going to need them to use it a lot, see your name a lot. So, but you can do different things like that. You can get things engraved at like that engraving place. What is that thing in the mall? You can do all kinds of cool stuff. You can get your own keychains and put their name on it, or there's this one that's really cool. It's in a loop and it's a house that spins. It's like a spinner, but there's not a lot of area to engrave. So you can find things that you can engrave if you would like to do that, or get a specialty stamp to stamp the back of things. But those things, like a back of a beautiful picture, maybe you buy them a picture and you can stamp the back with your name and your phone number and email. So just keep in mind that maybe it's something that they keep. I do some food items, but when they eat them, it's gone. So if they eat a cookie with my face or my name, it's gone. So think about that as you're doing gifting. Okay. Any other questions on gifting and or the process for seller timelines? Any ahas here, you guys? I always forget about the aha point. Any ahas? So in here, this is the instruction. I know you were asking about this. In Command, if you go to your opportunities and you select the buyer, obviously you're going to go in there and click to view, and you're going to select under contract. You can actually select over to the right where it says edit stages. Now, again, like I said, if you want a full like 15 minutes on this, your Crystal will go through this. But see over here to the right where it shows you what's happening. Oops, I hit the wrong button. There we go. Got to move your guys' faces out of my way. Sorry. It's kind of difficult to see when you're in the way. So over here, you'll see the checklist. It says provide list of inspection services, get inspection report. You can actually click to add an item. And over here, you see those little dots. You can click on that and move them around. So you can rearrange them as well. Okay. And then you hit save. So you can do this for the seller side and the buyer side. But again, I would highly suggest asking Crystal for an appointment. Okay. Let's see here. So these questions, has anything that I've gone over today changed any ideas or mindsets of things that you were doing already or planning to do? No chatter.
I mean, I knew the big picture. I have not walked through the detail of it, yet, other than in my own experiences of buying and selling my own houses, right? But one of the things that really, was an aha for me is, without going into detail, like adding these major points in my presentations in terms of like, this is where my value comes in. Like, this is my, this is when I get busy, like all the behind the scenes stuff of taking care of. So, because I think, especially I'm thinking like for sale by owners think, I can sell my house. It's a market. It's easy. I'll just get the money, as if listing and saying yes to the money is all there is to it. Right. So really kind of highlighting, this is where my job gets busy or whatever. And communicating that value to potential clients, right?
Exactly. because there's more to it than just getting you into contract. It's me.
Yeah, that's the easy part.
Yeah, I tell people, working with escrow and lenders is like herding kittens. It's not easy. There's a lot of evasiveness. There's nobody answering the emails. Nobody's answering their calls. You have a lot of work, and your goal is to keep it on track, not just for them, but for the entire transaction to end nicely. And sometimes, like I said, the other agent, they're like ghosts in the wind. They may never participate. And when you ask them to help in the end, because you need them to get in touch with the HOA because they're not responding, blah, blah, blah. And they go, I had an agent go, what do you mean? I go, you've been CC'd on every email that we've been doing this entire last month. And you're asking me what is happening? I'll tell you what's happening. We need this to close, and the HOA is not responding, and we need you to get in touch with the seller and find out if we can get this information, because otherwise we're not closing on time. Oh, like I'm thinking, why are you even getting paid? Because you didn't do anything the entire time except stick a sign in the ground and pass the contracts around. And then I've done everything else. So it is a bit annoying. I will tell you that, but we can't change anything on that fact, but we're there to help manage it. We have to do this. And I tell my clients, if something like that happens, I said, listen, we're doing our best. We've hit a road bump, and the selling agent hasn't really stepped up to their job like they should have. And we're needing their help along with the seller's help. And we will see what we can do, but don't worry, I'm on it. We'll take care of this. I said, I'm not happy. You're not happy, but we're going to make it work. So don't worry. I have to be dishonest. I mean, that's the way it is. So we'll get it closed. It may not be on time, it may not be the way we want it to be, but unfortunately that's going to have to happen because we're just hit this roadblock that I can't control. And there's a lot that I can't control here. I can't control a lot of the lender. I can't control escrow. I can't control a lot of things. But what I can control is how I'm communicating and working towards making this work best for you. So yeah, I agree. Anyone else have any action plans or things that they're planning to do going forward? Super quiet.
Okay, I'll say another. I also I want to have planned out each step, and Kristen, I think you're just so good at this, being proactive and almost over communicating, like constantly communicating and saying, okay, at next step, here's what we're expecting to happen in the next 8 days, 10 days, and communicating that constantly with the clients, so that they're ready to go. Plus, kind of, not that it makes you look good, but it just keeps everybody on board, right? And just kind of chunking it out in steps, so they don't get overwhelmed at the beginning. But okay, good, we finished that one. Now here's what comes next in the next 5 days, or here's what comes next in the next 2 weeks.
Correct. And you guys do understand why I do that, right? Beyond what she's saying, just to have them be prepared. I would say there's a few different reasons. One that's just I experienced when I had other agents help me buy my houses in the past. It was very lackluster. I mean, if you had me for your client, you'd probably cry because it's just they weren't communicating, and I want it to be explained to me. Now I'm a high DI. So I just look at pretty pictures, read the basic big headlines, and that's all I care about when it's going to get done. But I do expect someone to tell me what's happening and what the next steps are, right? And explain that to me if I don't know what I'm looking at, right? But I learned from the very, very, very beginning of being an agent, and you hear people go, I feel like I'm always on call. People are calling me all night. They're calling me on the weekends, and this thing is falling apart. The reason that's happening is because you have not set clear expectations and for what they can expect. Okay. If you are very, very clear on it, and you can be clear and nice and pleasant and fun the way I'm talking to you guys, the people that I get as my clients like me, they love me. That's why I get a lot of referrals from their friends and family. These people are my people. So I explained to them, I said, we're going to do this and we're going to do it on your timeline, but this is what to expect. I said, you can text me all day long up until about 9:30. I said, and if I know the answer, you'll get an immediate response on that. But if I don't, you'll still get an immediate response, and I will let you know that I will have the information more than likely by the morning, by noon, or by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, because I have to reach out to people that may not respond as quickly. So I always set them up for what their next expectation is, what potentially could happen, and when it will potentially happen. And if it can happen sooner, I will be on it. Okay. I don't get calls of trauma in the evening, at the crack of dawn. I don't get calls on the weekend unless it is something that we have set up to have that phone conversation for, right? And I text them or I call them to let them know when things are happening. I call for congratulations that they won a contract. I call when we have lost every single contract we put in since 2 months ago. I call them and I say, explain why. I make the agents tell me why we lost. What were the key points that we lost on? And sometimes it's nothing we can do, right? But I learn from those and I share them with my clients so they have that understanding. So what you're doing is you're not just setting them up for understanding your value, but you're setting them up for a process that they're comfortable with and they're calm about, and they don't have to worry. That's the biggest thing, is they don't like the unknown. It's terrifying. They don't know what the terms mean. They don't know what the expectations are. They don't know how long things last. And so you're setting them up to have this bubble of love, walking them through the process of listing or selling. And it's also protecting your mental state of mind, because we have enough stuff going on and enough exhaustion and mental things. Because I'm hearing about, uh-oh, that hit the fan. Uh-oh, they lost that loan type. We have to quickly change the loan type in the middle or whatever. All this stuff is happening. You could be a reactionary agent and tell your client all this crap is happening with no actual action plan to fix it and cause them trauma. Or you can absorb that information and take a moment and say, okay, so that hit the fan, that hit the fan. How do we fix this? What is the plan going forward with the lender and all this other stuff? And then we create the solution, and then we call the client and say, well, we've hit a little road bump. We've had this scenario happen. I hear that the lender is going to be calling you to talk to you about it, but here's what we have pieced together so far that we think we can make this work, but we may need to extend the timeline and ask for an extension. Okay. Or the lender will talk to you about what the plan is go forward, and we'll see if that works for you. That way they're prepared. They're a little bummed. They're a little uncomfortable, but they're not freaked out, right? Because I prepared them that there is a actual plan in place. Now it's just the fact that everyone has to carry that plan off. Any questions on that? Just really, really preparing your clients, seller or buyers, with clear expectations, clear processes, what happens next. And as I do with training, I repeat it over and over, over and over. No questions? Do you guys feel that you learned something today out of this process, contract to close for both sides? Do you guys feel good about that? A few nods. Is it overwhelming? No, some people, I mean, I know I add a lot of extra words. There'll be a lot of other agents that could teach this with less detail. But I think even if you don't use it right off the bat and you just wrote it down, you don't come back to it for 3 months, you at least had it. Okay. Because this is like still a fire hose. You're going to be shot a lot of information. You're only going to use a certain percentage of it right off the bat. But if you can take what I just shared with you today about being prepared and preparing your clients and setting those expectations, you're going to be a lot better off going forward than not having it. Okay. And for those of you that when we did the buyer's contract on the 25th, having that in place too, it's really, really important. Those setting expectation consultations are really, really important for your buyers. And you're setting expectations in all the conversations that you're having with your sellers when you're doing the listing appointment and meeting them a couple different times. Okay. Any questions? You do have some scripts that you can work on. But the reality is there's, it's interesting. They say the scripts are for daily habits, but honestly, I don't think there's much scripts in terms of setting up this process. Have you guys looked through your scripts for this class yet? I mean, mostly this isn't a script. This is actually just the milestones in the sheet. Do you have any other questions, you guys? Because I know we're supposed to be done 23 minutes ago. Nobody said anything. I have to go show houses. Okay, no questions. I think we're all good here. But if you have anything you want to touch base with me or want to speak to me about, you have my information, and let me know if there's any further questions on this. And again, if you're on a team, you're going to be following what your team processes are. Okay. Does everyone feel good about this going forward?
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry about the 23 minutes over. I wish, I don't know why class people tell me they're over.
Nah, well, obviously a few people had to leave, but
Well, Chris had to leave earlier. He had some classes he had to show too. He had some clients he had to show houses to. So, but I think most of you have been on here the whole time, which is nice. Thank you. You guys have a great day. And hopefully I'll get to see you guys again, but these are the only 2 classes I'm teaching in this series of Ignite. So this may be the last time I see you guys for a while. Okay.
thank you. It's really good.
Thank you.
Anyway, that
Good luck. Go out and get the people. Lots of houses, right? Go get listings and then bring some buyers. Okay. See you guys later. Bye-bye.